What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like what you hear today, as I do post new Warriors videos daily. Now, on Friday, we saw Jonathan Kuminga's agent go on ESPN and talk about the entire saga regarding the Warriors and that the whole free agency situation since July 1st. And there was a little bit about like the original time for an extension last year and how that didn't work out. And all I can say about that is this is just going from bad to worse because once he deleted his Instagram and his Twitter accounts, all right, that was the point of no return. But now his agent is going on television talking about what's been going on and why it hasn't been working, how he wants to stay in Golden State, but wants control over his own future. And to me, that's just the player saying, you know what, I want out. I want nothing to do with this team. Yeah, we heard what he said regarding, all right, if that that team option is turned into a player option, we can work from there. But let's be honest, bringing him back after all this, and especially after upping the price to 2 guaranteed years at 25 a year, he just does not want to be here, and it makes me wonder, like, what is his value? Because I don't see it anymore. Right now, he's more of a headache than anything else, and the Warriors are in last dance mode. Like I always say, Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy, they got these next 2 years, and then it's game over. They got to hang it up, or they're just going to run themselves into the ground and retire because of injuries, not because they want to retire. They got to know when you have to hang it up. But when you're in last dance mode, you all, like I say, all have to have the exact same mindset, know what you're going after, and going after it and getting it. Like, to be a championship team, you all have to be on the same page. And even if Kuminga is brought back on that 3-year deal with a player option after the third, they're still not on the same page because Kuminga, he might get traded come the deadline because the Warriors still want to add talent and continue to get better. But the problem is, you can't do that. You can't make a major trade at the deadline and become an immediate title contender. They need to make this deal now in order to really become that title contender, so they have all their guys that they're going to all their main roster guys that they're going to keep through the entire season and just continue to get better as the season goes along. Now, when I think about the kinds of trades that we could get for Kuminga, there are a lot of things that come to mind. Yes, we know he wants to control where he goes, and he wants to use that leverage, either signing the qualifying offer and saying, hey, if you don't trade me where I want to go, then I'm signing the qualifying offer, and you know what? Your loss. So there are a lot of places that could use him, but I think it's important moving forward to say we're not trading you to the Kings. Like the Kings, those are out. And on top of that, the Warriors, I think now they have no choice, but they got to drop the draft capital desire because that's just not doing them any favors. Maybe if they do trade him within the conference, say to like Phoenix, they get, instead of draft capital, they add like a third player and go from there. But for me, I want to see him go east because he's going to be a great player, just not for the Warriors. And I don't want to see him be a problem over the next 2 years for the Warriors when they're in the playoffs. So Phoenix, Kings, not so much my top tier ideas, but they still have good offers to present to the team for Kuminga. Now, the biggest one I like to think of that's at least been gaining some steam in recent days has been trading Kuminga to the Chicago Bulls. Now, with any Bulls deal, that's going to involve other players such as Moses Moody and Buddy Hield, who, as we all know, I'm not the biggest fans of, even though they are very good, serviceable players. Now, they trade him to the Bulls. They have a lot to work with, which is something I really like because they have a lot of expiring contracts, a lot of movable contracts. You just have to make the deal work. Now, for me, I think it's pretty simple what they trade for. You trade Kuminga, he gets his big deal, probably 25 a year over 4 years, or maybe just that 3-year deal, or whatever works for him. then you got to half that salary because that's how much they can take back. And then you add Moody, you add Buddy Hield to the mix, and maybe a few other guys to see if they could pry away maybe Vucevic, Kevin Herter, Kobe White. Not so much Kobe White, just because I don't like how short he is, and we don't need a small backcourt to win a title. I mean, it didn't work with Monta Ellis and Steph Curry in the beginning, and it's not going to work now. It doesn't work with what's his name? It doesn't work with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell either. They were the best team in the league last year, but got spanked in the playoffs. So, just it's not a good sign. Like having that short of a backcourt is only going to create problems in the playoffs, and problems are the things that the Warriors don't need right now. And plus, if you trade away the likes of Moody and Hield along with Kuminga for 2 players instead of 3, it gives you an extra roster spot to acquire another player. Because I keep saying it, and that is that there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to have roster crunches come the end of the preseason and maybe even the end of training camp. And those teams are going to be teams like the Nets, who have a lot of guys on their roster, but they can't keep them all on there. Guys like the Knicks, who have like Malcolm Brogdon, Landry Shamet, Alex Len. Those are 3 guys that aren't going to fit on that roster. And on top of that, they could also acquire one of those young guys with the trade exception that they already have. So there's big things there. And on top of that, they could acquire, say, the likes of Kelly Oubre or Andre Drummond from the Sixers, who are looking to shed salary in order to re-sign Quentin Grimes. So there are a lot of options for the Warriors to bring in more players. So it really becomes, all right, let's see who's out there. Let's see who we can go out and get and build this finally fleshed out roster. Because once they have that fleshed out roster and they all have that same mindset, this Warriors team is going to be tough to beat. Because Gary Payton II, DeAnthony Melton, Al Horford, they're already in the mix. I'd rather have those guys in the mix and then 3 guys that don't really fit in out of the way than just guys who are just sort of middling. Like, I don't want to see this team become another play-in team like they've been for the past 2 years. 2 to 3 years, I want to say. Let me put it this way. Ever since the title team in 22, they've been a middle-of-the-road team, and that just does not work for me because they have one more left in them, and we got to see them get that one more because this Steph getting 5 while LeBron has 4 is going to be great. But on top of that, should things really work out by the end of preseason, maybe LeBron even becomes a free agent. They could quickly pick him up at a fraction of the cost. So there are always opportunities to get things going by the end of training camp and the end of preseason. But that remains to be seen. It all is determined by trading Jonathan Kuminga. Now, in other news, which I found real interesting, turns out that rumor about KD rejecting the trade to the Warriors back at the trade deadline was true. And I got to say, I am a little disappointed by it because that trade could have solved a lot of problems. Like, yes, KD is still getting up there, but I'm just disappointed to hear that there's bad blood. He's still putting up great numbers. He could have gotten them to that next level if they acquired him at the deadline, and he could have made them possibly that championship level team because that just synergy with him and Steph, it just works out well. And then you got Draymond right there, and we don't know. I'm not entirely sure about how well that relationship has mended since 2019, but I think it's been pretty well. So I wanted to see him, but it's a bummer to see that he rejected the trade, and now, you know what? He's with the Rockets and is now a problem for the Warriors because the Rockets are going to be a tough team to beat, much like the Thunder are, and much like pretty much the majority of the West is going to be. Because you look at how big the Mavericks are, you look how big the Nuggets are, how big the Timberwolves are, how big the Thunder and Rockets are. They're going to be teams that we have to go through in order to get to the NBA Finals. And to get through these teams, we're going to need to have a more complete Warriors team before anything can really happen. And if KD was part of that Warriors team, would have made things a lot easier. So that's just my 2 cents on it. But bottom line is, as I said before, Jonathan Kuminga, his agent goes on ESPN. He deletes his Instagram. He deletes his Twitter. We're past the point of no return. We got to move him. I'm sorry. There's no redemption arc in Golden State for Kuminga. I think he's on to his next chapter, and we've got to sort of push him to his next chapter. If that means reducing the draft capital coming back in exchange for him, so be it. Just get those right guys. Get guys that want to be part of a system and a team that does well, and put that team together. I mean, say they do find a way to move Kuminga for Vucevic and Kevin Huerter. All right, starting lineup. It's at the 1, you got Steph. At the 2, you got Huerter. At the 3, you've got Jimmy. At the 4, you got Draymond. At the 5, you got Vucevic. Behind them, you've got the likes of Seth Curry. You've got Melton. You've got Gary Payton Gary Payton II. You've got Pods. You've got potentially Kelly Oubre, potentially Pacom Dadier, or even Tyler Kolek. And those are guys that you could really do well with. And then on top of that, you have the likes of Al Horford and Quentin Post, who I didn't realize Quentin Post hit 40% of his threes last year. So that was impressive nonetheless, but you got stuff to work with, and it's addition by subtraction when it comes to Jonathan Kuminga. And I wish him well on his new team, but his time in Golden State has come to an end. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, if you enjoyed the show today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you have other trade ideas for Jonathan Kuminga that will make the Warriors an overall better team that doesn't include draft capital, feel free to comment below, as I love to hear your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.